Welcome to Daily News Analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 17th of February 2024. Displayed here are the articles that we are going to discuss today. Without much delay, let us get into the first news article discussion. Look at this article. It talks about MGNREGA Act, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. According to ILO, MGNREGA has contributed to reducing the gender wage gap in rural areas. The introduction and expansion of MGNREGA have led to increased compliance with minimum wages regulations in rural areas. The scheme has also played a role in decreasing the wage gap between formal salaried workers and casual workers in rural settings. The ILO highlights that the impact of MGNREGA on wage disparities varies across different regions of the country and says that the success of the program depends on its implementation at the ground level. In this context, let us learn about MGNREGA Act. This act was passed in 2005. It is an Indian labour law and a social security measure that aims to guarantee the right to work. Now let us see the history behind the act. The act was first proposed in the year 1991 by the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao. It was finally accepted in the Parliament in the year 2006 and commenced implementation in 625 districts of India. Based on this pilot experience, NREGA was scoped up to cover all the districts of India from 1st of April 2008. The scheme is hailed by the government as the largest and most ambitious social security and public works program in the world. The World Bank, in its World Development Report 2014, termed MGNREGA as the stellar example of rural development. So what is the objective of this scheme? It aims to enhance livelihood security in rural areas by providing at least 100 days of wage employment in a financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work. In addition to this, there is a provision for additional 50 days of unskilled wage employment in the financial year in drought or natural calamity notified rural areas. Know that Section 3 of 4 of MGNREGA Act 2005 allows the state governments to make provisions for providing additional days beyond the period of guaranteed under this act, but it has to be done from the state government's own fund. Here note that this act is only limited to the rural hinterlands of the country and not to the urban areas. Moving on to see the implementation of the scheme. MGNREGA is implemented mainly by Gram Panchayats of the areas across which the work is allotted. Here the involvement of contractors is completely banned. Labor intensive tasks like creating infrastructure for water harvesting, drought relief and flood control are the preferred mode of providing employment under the MGNREGA. See, the nodal ministry which is tasked with the implementation of the scheme is Ministry of Rural Development. Is MGNREGA a legal entitlement? See, there are certain conditions for providing employment under this act. The conditions are that employment is to be provided within 5 km of an applicant's residence and minimum wages are to be paid. If work is not provided within 15 days of applying, the applicants are entitled to an unemployment allowances. Thus, the employment under MGNREGA is a legal entitlement. Now let us see the significance of this scheme. MGNREGA helps in providing economic security and creating rural assets. Apart from this, MGNREGA can help in protecting the environment, empowering the rural women, reducing the rural-urban migration, and fostering social equity. MGNREGA also has the potential to reduce the migration of labor from rural to urban areas. This is all about the scheme MGNREGA. Let us move on to the next news article. Have a look at this article. This news article talks about the launch of meteorological satellite INSAT 3DS into the space using Geosynchronous Launch Vehicle GSLV. This satellite will be launched today at 5:35 p.m. from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. GSLV is referred to as a naughty boy due to its mixed record of success. So the successful completion of this mission will be critical for the GSLV, which will be launching the Earth observation satellite NISAR later this year. This is the crux of this news article. In this context, let us quickly go through INSAT and NISAR from the prelims perspective. First, we shall see about INSAT. See, INSAT, or the Indian National Satellite System, is a series of multi-purpose geostationary satellites launched by ISRO to satisfy the telecommunications, broadcasting, meteorology and search and rescue needs of India. It was first commissioned in 1983 and today INSAT is the largest domestic communication system in the Asia Pacific region. Let us see some of the examples of INSAT satellite that are presently in service. Firstly, the EduSat satellite. It was launched in 2004 and it became the first education satellite that enhances India to perform satellite-enabled two-way communication for the students to enhance their academic experience. Secondly, the combination of the two satellites INSAT 3D and INSAT 3D are These two satellites has enabled the scope of timely and accurate detection of weather-related parameters in the atmosphere of Earth. The reading of weather change and other possible images are collected from this satellite every 15 minutes. GSAT satellite is widely used for digital data, audio and video broadcasting for both the civilian and the military users. It has also increased the flexibility in telecommunication, VSAT services, television and all other broadcasting related services in India. INSAT 3DS satellite that is going to be launched today is a follow-on mission of third generation meteorological satellite from geostationary orbit. It is designed for enhanced meteorological observations and monitoring of land and ocean surfaces for weather forecasting and disaster warning. Once operational, the satellite will augment the meteorological service along with the presently operating INSAT 3D and INSAT 3DR satellites. So it will help in short-range forecasts of extreme weather events like thunderstorms. It also provides visibility estimation for aviation and even help in studying forest fire, smoke, snow cover and climate studies. This mission is fully funded by the Ministry of Earth Science, and Indian industries have also significantly contributed to the making of the satellite. These are some of the facts you have to remember about INSAT satellites. Moving on to the NISAR satellites. See, NISAR is a joint Earth observing mission between NASA and ISRO. Its goal is to make global measurements of the causes and consequences of land surface changes using advanced radar imaging. NISAR will be the first radar in space to systematically map Earth using two different radar frequencies, that is L-band and S-band. This allows NISAR to measure changes of our planet's surface, including movements as small as 1 centimeter. Once launched, NISAR will map the entire globe in 12 days. Remember, this joint mission was signed in 2014 and it was expected to launch in this year. NASA is providing the mission's L-band synthetics aperture radar, a high-rate communication subsystem for science data, GPS receiver, solid-state recorder and payload data subsystem. Similarly, ISRO is providing the spacecraft bus, the S-band radar, the launch vehicle and associated launch services. So that's all about NISAR. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Look at this article. It talks about the upcoming free trade agreement between India and European Free Trade Association, EFTA. It also talks about the contentious issue of intellectual property rights, particularly data exclusivity. The author highlights the historical context of struggle between investors and generic drug companies in the pharmaceutical industry. Negotiations for a free trade agreement between India and the European Free Trade Association are going on. But a major point of contention is intellectual property rights, particularly related to the pharmaceutical industry. New legal concepts like data exclusivity are emerging in this trade negotiations, which is a concern for India. Under this agreement, clinical trial data becomes proprietary for minimum 6 years. This will potentially hinder the growth of India's drug industry. So there will be more challenges for India's pharmaceutical industry regarding the IPR and data exclusivity. We shall approach this topic using our usual mains answer writing practice. This is the mains question. Take a look at it. Evaluate the significance of investing in fundamental research for the development of local pharmaceutical industry in India, considering the challenges posed by international intellectual property rights and data exclusivity agreements. This topic comes under the syllabus GS paper 3. Here the question demands two things. Begin the answer by providing a brief overview of the pharmaceutical industry in India and its recent growth on the global stage. Then we can split the body of answer into two parts. Firstly, emphasize the importance of fundamental research in driving innovation and development in the local pharmaceutical industry in India. Secondly, discuss how international IPR regimes can pose challenges for access to affordable medicines, especially in developing countries. Provide examples of instances where IPR issues have affected the availability of essential drugs. So this is how we are going to approach this question. Let us start answering. As I said earlier, the introduction can be about the overview of pharmaceutical industry in India and its recent growth on global stage. India's pharmaceutical industry has witnessed remarkable growth in recent decades, emerging as a global player. India is the largest provider of generic medicines globally, occupying a 20% share in the global supply by volume. The pharmaceutical industry in India offers 60,000 generic brands across 60 therapeutic categories. It is the leading vaccine manufacturer with 60% of the world's vaccine coming from India. In order to sustain and further enhance this growth, investing in fundamental research is crucial. This is relevant given the challenges posed by the intellectual property rights and data exclusivity agreements. In this way, you can give a brief overview of India's pharmaceutical industry, and also we have linked the questions demand into the intro part. Now we are moving on to see the body part of the answer. Here we shall split the answer into two parts, as I said earlier. In the first part, we are going to discuss the significance of investing in fundamental research for the development of local pharmaceutical industry in India. Let us see the significance one by one. Firstly, knowledge creation and innovation. Investing in fundamental research results knowledge creation and innovation, providing a strong foundation for the development of new drugs and technologies. This is important for the local pharmaceutical industry to remain competitive globally and to address the evolving healthcare needs of the population. Secondly, global recognition and market expansion. Countries that prioritize fundamental research gain global recognition for their scientific capabilities. This recognition enhances the country's standing in the global pharmaceutical market, attracting international collaborations and investments. India, by investing in fundamental research, can position itself as a hub for cutting-edge pharmaceutical research and development. Thirdly, addressing public health challenges. Investment in fundamental research enables the discovery of novel drugs and treatments, addressing prevalent health challenges in the country. This includes developing affordable medicines for the diseases that disproportionately affect the Indian population. Investing in research can lead to the creation of breakthrough drugs, positively impacting public health outcomes. International intellectual property rights often pose challenges for developing countries. However, investing in fundamental research allows India to build a robust intellectual property portfolio, creating a platform for negotiations and collaborations. By demonstrating a commitment to innovation, India can negotiate favorable terms and potentially influence the global IPR norms. Fourthly, investing in fundamental research for developing local pharmaceutical industries will help us to navigate data exclusivity agreements can limit access to crucial research data, hindering the development of generic drugs. Investing in fundamental research allows India to generate its data, reducing dependency on the proprietary data owned by the multinational companies. This self-reliance enhances the ability to produce generic versions of the drugs, promoting affordability and accessibility. Fourthly, this will also help us to reduce disease burden. India's playing at a scale in the innovation space will not just help the country but will create a source of sustainable revenues, bringing new solutions to unmet healthcare needs. In India, this would lead to reduction in disease burden, creation of new high-skilled jobs, and probably around $10 billion of additional exports from 2030. Now we shall move to the second part of our body of the answer. Here we have to discuss the challenges posed by IPR rights and data exclusivity agreements to the development of local pharma sector in India. Firstly, limited access to patented medicines. IPR often results in the patenting of critical pharmaceutical compounds and technologies, limiting the access of Indian pharmaceutical companies to these innovations. High licensing fees and restrictions on generic production can hinder the availability of affordable medicines in the domestic market. Second important challenge is delay in introducing generic drugs. Strict IPR regulations can delay the introduction of generic versions of the patented drugs in the market. This delay contributes to prolonged periods of monopoly for multinational pharmaceutical companies. Thereby, it restricts competition and keeping drug prices high. Third one is barrier to research and development. Stringent patent protection by IPR and other data exclusivity agreements may act as a deterrent for local pharmaceutical companies to invest in the research and development. Fear of legal challenges and patent infringement can discourage innovation within the domestic industry. Fourth challenge is dependency on foreign technologies. IPR restrictions may force Indian pharmaceutical companies to rely heavily on the foreign technologies and innovations, limiting their self-reliance. This dependency can lead to increased costs and hinder the development of robust indigenous pharmaceutical research ecosystem. Fifthly, data exclusivity will affect the competitiveness. This agreement limits the ability of Indian companies to use clinical trial data for the registration of generic versions of the medicines. This hampers the timely entry of affordable generic drugs into the market, affecting the competitiveness of the local pharmaceutical industry. Lastly, threat to public health initiatives. IPR constraints can impede the production and distribution of generic versions of life-saving drugs, undermining public health initiatives in India. Access to essential medicines for diseases such as tuberculosis and malaria can be compromised due to IPR-related challenges. The inflexibility of patent laws may hinder the development of public health-oriented policies such as compulsory licensing. Restrictions on flexibilities within the trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, that is TRIPS agreement, can limit India's ability to respond to public health emergencies effectively. So addressing these challenges requires a comprehensive approach involving domestic policy reforms, international advocacy, and strategic collaborations to ensure that India's local pharmaceutical industry can thrive in the evolving global intellectual property landscapes. In conclusion, we can provide way forward. Here we can give suggestions on how to overcome those challenges that we mentioned in the body of the answer. India can engage in diplomatic efforts to advocate for fair and equitable IPR and data exclusivity regulations on international platforms. Collaborative initiatives with like-minded nations can amplify the collective voice of developing countries. Strengthening domestic research institutions and fostering collaborations between academia, industry, and government is crucial. Encouraging partnership between the government, private sector, and research institutions can leverage resource efficiently. This is not only enhances research capabilities but also promote a culture of innovation. So investing in fundamental research can nullify the challenges posed by international intellectual property rights and data exclusivity agreements. That's all about this article. With this, let us move on to the next news article. Look at this article. Recently, 6th Regional Dialogue of Secretaries of Security Councils happened in Bishkek. There, India has urged other Central Asian countries to use the Chabahar port to enhance connectivity and trade. In this article, we shall discuss about significance of Chabahar port and other important ports of India. First, let us understand about Chabahar port. It is located on the Gulf of Oman and is only 72 kilometers away from the Gwadar port of Pakistan, which has been developed by China. This port serves as the only oceanic port of Iran, consisting of two separate ports named Shahid Beheshti and Shahid Kalantari. Now we shall understand its strategic significance. This port enables access to Central Asian countries by passing Pakistan. It can also act as a counter to Pakistan Gwadar port, which was developed by China as a part of One Belt One Road initiative. Chabahar port, and together with the international north-south transport corridor, can optimize India's connectivity with Russia and other Euro-Asian counterparts. Similarly, we will see one another important port of India, that is Sittwe port. Sittwe port was jointly inaugurated by India and Myanmar. It is a deep water port located in Myanmar's Rakhine state. It is a part of Kaladan multimodal project aimed at enhancing trade and connectivity. The port is expected to spur economic development in India's northeastern region and align with the government's Act East policy. This is by serving as a bridge to Southeast Asia. Sittwe port offers more efficient trade route compared to the traditional Siliguri corridor, potentially halving the transport time from Calcutta to Agartala. This port has gained importance because it provides India with a strategic foothold in Myanmar. This also helps India to counter China's expansionist policies and border tensions. These are some of the important facts about the ports. With this, we shall move on to the next news article. Look at this article. It states that the government is in the advanced stage of formulating a policy framework for carbon capture, utilization, and storage. In this article, we shall understand about the carbon capture, its techniques and significance. Carbon capture, utilization and storage. This involves methods and technologies to remove carbon dioxide from flue gas and from the atmosphere. This is followed by recycling the carbon dioxide for utilization and identifying safe and permanent storage options. Now we shall look at the process in brief. There are three main methods to capture and store carbon in general. They are pre-combustion, post-combustion, oxy-fuel method. Pre-combustion is normally applied to coal gasification combined cycle power plants. Here the coal is first gasified to produce a synthetic gas made from carbon monoxide and hydrogen. The former is reacted with water to produce carbon dioxide, which is captured. Next is post-combustion. In this method, carbon dioxide is separated from the flue gas of the power station by bubbling the gas through an absorber column packed with liquid solvents such as ammonia. Once the chemicals in the absorber column becomes saturated, a superheated stream around 1200 degrees Celsius is passed through it. This releases the trapped CO2, which can then be transported for storage elsewhere. Next one is oxy-fuel method. In this method, we need to burn the fuel in pure oxygen. All the waste gas will be composed of CO2 and water vapor. The latter can be condensed out, while the former can be piped or transported directly to a storage facility. Now let us understand about its working process in a brief. Firstly, CO2 has to be separated from other gases produced in the industrial process or during power generation. Once captured, it has to be compressed and transported to sites for storage, often via pipelines. After that, it has to be injected into rock formations underground, typically 1 kilometer or more under the ground for storage for decades. In addition to the carbon capture and storage, other recent scientific techniques to reduce global warming includes afforestation and reforestation efforts, solar radiation management techniques such as stratospheric aerosol injection, advanced agricultural practices to sequester carbon, and the other development of renewable energy sources like wind and solar power. These methods aim to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions and stabilize the climate. So with this, let us move on to the prelims practice question discussion. Look at this question. Consider the following statements regarding NISAR. First statement is, it is a joint Earth observation mission by ISRO and NASA. This statement is correct. The second statement is, it will be able to observe minor changes in land, vegetation and cryosphere. This statement is also correct. And the third statement is, it is a dual band radar imaging mission. This statement is also correct. So the answer is option C. So in this question, consider the following statements about the carbon capture. The first statement is, carbon capture process is very expensive and the technologies involved in this process, they are in the beginning stage of development. And the next statement is, India has an established policy for carbon capture and storage. This statement is also incorrect because India presently does not have any policy regarding carbon capture. And the third statement is, the captured carbon can be safely stored for many years. This statement is correct. So the answer is option C. In this question, they are asking about the Chabahar port. The first statement is, Chabahar port is the only riverine port in Iran. This statement is incorrect because Chabahar port is a oceanic port. It is not a riverine port. And the second statement is, it is located at the mouth of Persian Gulf. This statement is also incorrect because it is located at the mouth of Gulf of Oman. So they are asking which are all incorrect. So the answer is option C. So this question is about MGNREGA. The first statement is, the nodal ministry for implementation of MGNREGA is Ministry of Panchayat Raj. This statement is incorrect because the nodal ministry for MGNREGA is Ministry of Rural Development, not Panchayat Raj. And the second statement is, the act makes it obligatory for the government to provide for 150 days of manual work for every rural household willing to work. This statement is also incorrect because it provides only for 100 days of manual work, not 150 days. So they are asking which are all the statements are incorrect. So the answer is option C. With this, we come to the end of this news article discussion. If you like the video, do like, share and subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy. Thank you so much for watching.